Well, hi, Sandy. Hi, Nikki. Welcome to Education Day. I have been so excited to spend a little bit of time with you. In fact, we'd like to spend the whole day together, but I know we only have 15 minutes. For those of you who don't know these wonderful partners that I have joining me today, Santiago is the founder of CEO Works and chairman of the board for Prometric, a passionate believer in education. I'm also joined by Nikki Eatchel. She is our chief assessment officer at Prometric, another very passionate person about the innovation of education. How are you guys doing today?
Fantastic. Happy to be here.
Oh, good. I thought about this conversation and how we were going to really connect and chat. And I think it starts with a journey, the question about how even each of you have come to be passionate, to be in love with education. It might be your own journey, but why is education such a key part of what you do, what you've maybe always done, and what you want all of the folks joining us today to know about?
Speaking for myself, Debbie, my passion for education is probably rooted in my family.
Hmm.
And we grew up, and my dad was a physicist, and we were doing math problems and physics problems at dinner. And and one of the things that he used to say at the beginning of the school year was that we should really get to know and understand the teacher that we had.
Oh.
And his definition of the world's worst teacher is when the notes of the teacher become the notes of the student without passing through the mind of either.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. And so I, I was always, and his follow up was, and you have to play your part. In other words, those notes have to pass through your mind too.
Right.
And so we were talking about learning and so forth a lot
Right.
when I was growing up. So that's
What a
where
wonder,
that's the
what a
that's the genesis
wonderful way
story.
to remember that, Sandy, right? Like sitting around the table and having that conversation even from the very beginning and knowing how important that piece was going to be for the rest of your life and being an active participant, right, as well. Good thoughts from your dad, giving you really good guidance there. Nikki, I bet education's been a big part for not only you, but for your family. I know we talk about that a lot.
Yeah, I'm married to an educator, so we do talk about education a lot. I would say we often sat around the table with our kids talking about education, talking about their day. I don't know that I ever gave a physics problem, so I will have to say that wasn't sort of where I landed. But I think where I get a passion, certainly for education, is probably because of my own journey of I've been in the assessment industry for about 30 years, but I never would have imagined a specific educational path that would get me there. What got me into the education or the assessment and education industry was just having access and opportunity to a wide variety of subjects that allowed me to develop and find those interests and find those passions. And I think that's what's so critically important. Not everybody has that access to education or has that support to find where their talent lies, to have the development and the support to do that. And I know I wouldn't have ended up in such a rewarding industry if I didn't have the opportunity to be educated in a variety of things and find the areas where I have passion.
Yeah, it's interesting for both of you. It sounds like people helped you find that journey. And as you thought about which way that path might take you, I was talking to our CEO last week for this very same event and was reminded of my experiences at the Raggedy Ann Blackboard. And it was just always having that calling to teach, having my younger brother with me, dragging in neighbor kids, lining up, like it was almost like a passion that we didn't even know was going to be ignited in us, even at a young age, and the journey takes its own pathway. I think, Sandy, that's how we found our way to working with the International Day of Education. Why is that so important to you? And I'd love to hear from both of you on that, but there's a reason why you're here participating in International Education Day. Sandy, what do you think that is?
Well, I think it if we're trying to affect change in the
Mhm.
world, and certainly we are there are so many people in the world that don't have access to a great education for all kinds of reasons. And if you don't create an awareness and a focus on it, then you can't move it forward. You can't make change. And I think having a day that is Education Day is such a cool idea and a great way to, to bring that kind of focus and attention on something as important as this.
Yeah.
And I know that when I was invited to become the chairman at Prometric, and I'm also the chairman at Nord Anglia Education, which is a large schools company. I felt in many ways like I was coming home. Going all the way back to my
Yes.
my relationship with my family and so on. But I think
it was kind of meant to
important.
be. It was meant to be, right, Sandy? Like when you think about the pieces that come to you that you might not even be looking for, what a wonderful way to connect back into how it even started. Nikki, I know you're just as passionate about when we think about what Prometric's doing from an assessment, a curriculum, a support, the access piece. Why was your mission to be part of this day as well?
I think what's first of all so exciting about this day is that we have an opportunity to reach a lot of people. We have innovations available to us to do a day like this and to reach people in different ways and spread awareness around the importance of it. And it's connected so nicely to what we do on a day-to-day basis now, which is trying to make sure we're taking full advantage of the innovations that we have available to us to make education not only more sort of available, more transparent, easier to access. And so it connects so nicely with bringing sort of our world into a smaller place together in a day of education to do that same thing as we make sort of new technology and new innovations available in every corner of the world to make sure we can spread the education as well as the education day.
You were like reading my mind when you said new technology, new innovation. I would be remiss if I didn't say, like, the smile on my face as both of you talk is about the unbelievable work that I think Prometric is doing when it comes to not only providing, I loved, Sandy, your word, access to so many, but in different and new ways of being able to master skills and master content and get on that journey of whatever career path you're heading down. I think Prometric is definitely leading in that, and another just reason why this was such a good match for us. I wonder, are there a couple innovation pieces that are appropriate to talk about? I could talk for a long time about a lot of them, but I'm excited about some of those. I don't know, Nikki, if you want to maybe start about maybe some of those examples of where Prometric is really doing things differently to make sure that everyone has the opportunity to learn.
I think what's really exciting to me, there's such a wide variety of innovations that we have access to that we're utilizing in our day-to-day basis now, from generative AI for item development, AI for content classification to ensure that we can personalize learning to individual students' needs, VR assessment, skill-based assessment, micro-credentials. There's a wealth of them at this point, which is wonderful because we haven't had that before. But I think to me, the thing that's most important about all of those innovations is providing the opportunity for alternative pathways to proficiency. We've always had sort of one way to get to your proof of education, your degree. Either you graduate or you don't, either you go to college or you don't, or you get the job or you don't. And now there's a lot of different opportunity to help students learn and show that proficiency in a variety of ways that really caters to their expertise, their talents, and their skills. And that's what's super exciting, because honestly, I don't think we've got in our world as big of a skill gap as everybody talks about. I think we have a skill identification gap. And now that we have an opportunity to show different pathways to proficiency, all that talent around the globe has more opportunity to come to the table and be seen. And that's
It's exciting. It is. It's why we are. I mean, when you think about the idea that there's not just one way to learn, there's not just one way to provide kind of your pathway on that journey to your career. Sandy, I know you have the pleasure of working with Nikki a lot. You know, we are blessed. We look at her as our role model when it comes to a lot of these topics. What are some of the pieces that you are most proud of with Prometric and when it comes to innovation and education? I know you could talk about a lot of things as you spend time with Nikki, but what are you most proud of, Sandy?
I would start with the role that assessment plays in
Mhm.
virtually everyone's life.
Yes.
And when you think about the choices that have been made about us as people all throughout our lives, where someone made a choice about, when I was 9 years old, I made the Little League baseball team.
Yes.
And someone made a choice
Mhm.
when I uh, was given an appointment to the United States Coast Guard Academy. A choice
Mhm.
was made,
Mhm. Mhm.
and these are things that have shaped my life, or whether I was chosen to be the chairman of Prometric. These were all based upon one kind of assessment or another. And what I think is so important about the role that Prometric plays is we know because of some of the work of Daniel Kahneman and Amos Tversky that we all have bias, cognitive bias of various
Mhm.
kinds. It's not just
Mhm.
the capital B bias that people talk about.
Right.
This is real. The way that our mind works,
Mhm.
and therefore choices are being made based upon bias. But when we can introduce real evidence and real facts into the decision making process and produce simple scores, like many of
Mhm.
the assessments that Nikki and her team are working on, this changes everything because
Absolutely.
now the choices are being made on evidence.
Yes.
And when
Yes.
that is pretty big and pretty important. And then when
Mhm.
those assessments are backed up with
Mhm.
whether it's virtual reality technology or whether
Mhm.
that is artificial intelligence, it's just making the evidence that much more visible, that much more available to people's minds.
Mhm.
And I have had the pleasure today to be with Nikki, talking to people at a Ministry of Education, and just hearing all of the science that goes into this, and not overwhelming science, not confusing science. I'm talking about real,
Great.
practical, accessible
Right.
science in these kinds of choices that are made about everyone's lives every
Mhm.
day.
What a wonderful way to be able to say you spent not only the day, but your life and a career, right? I do. I smile and I look at the Prometric family all the time and all of the folks that are joining us from around the world. And, when you think about what we get to do every day to help people on their learning journey, to how to use that science, Sandy, I even like that real world science, that applicable science, and that word, that idea of choice. I think for all of us who are joining today, that choice is also about how education helps to create a more peaceful world, right? How to make sure that as we're looking at our communities and our global connections around the world, that education can be the uniter and it can be something that can bring us together. And perhaps that is because we're offering so many choices and we're thinking about what it means to have that education journey and what it means to use technology and to have that passion that you're leading with. As we kind of wrap up our time today, so many people have wanted to get to know Prometric more. And as you think about the ways to do that and the things that they might consider, we were excited about our new website that launched last week. We were sharing a little bit about that, Stuart and I. We were talking about Nikki and your team, all the research that has been happening and the work we've been doing. If people want to learn more, they want to learn more about what Sandy and Nikki have just talked about and how to connect more with Prometric, how would you, both of you, recommend they do that? Are there any steps you'd suggest they take?
Well, certainly, as you said, there's our website. You can always go
Yes.
in and reach out and see sort of, as we like to call the tasting menu of things that are
Yes.
happening and good bite-sized components there. I think, Debbie, the work that you've been involved in making sure we have strong webinars that are just not overly complicated, just sort of getting people an idea of what we're working on and how things are changing. There's so much technology that's changing so fast for everybody. Understanding how it is applicable to both education and assessment, right, gets to be potentially overwhelming. So finding those bite-sized sort of pieces of information and determining where you want to go next, I always think is very helpful. And then there's certainly lots of information and primers out there about considerations around AI in education, about other opportunities for, say, durable skill evaluation in education, and certainly reaching out to any of us to have ongoing conversations is something we're all very excited to do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Sandy, any last thoughts on that as well? You've said you've got to spend a great day with Nikki. I'm sure they're one of many great days when you all are together.
Yeah, no, I would say that no one will find Prometric difficult to locate. But the magic of the place is the people.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so and if you reach out and contact us, any of us,
Yes.
you're going to find a group of warm, passionate, caring, leaned in, switched on people, and that's
Yes.
what makes it special.
Yes, what a blessing. What a great place to be able to say is not only your work, but it's a family. And Sandy and Nikki, I can't thank you enough for spending some time. Like we said, I wish we could spend all day talking about education today, but we're so blessed and honored that you had time to chat with us today. I want to thank everyone that was joining us from around the world as well, because as you can see, the passion is real, and that the care about education is something that runs very deeply amongst so many of us. So thanks for spending time with me today.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure.
Deb.